Before we dive into the big stuff, here's a quick preview of what's ahead this week in astrological insights. Mercury finally stations direct on Thursday after weeks of feeling like your words weren't landing quite right. That same night, Pluto and Juno, both retrograde, both in Aquarius, meet up for a conjunction that's less about outward drama and more about a private reckoning with power and commitment. Wednesday, the sun strides into the bold, warm-hearted Leo. And then Sunday, Saturn stations retrograde in Aries, kicking off a multi-month review through December of how we've been asserting ourselves, or maybe where we've been a little too impulsive for our own good. So forward motion followed by a firm hand on the brake. Let's dig in and work through each of these together. Onto our episode. Hello and welcome back, Cosmic Crew. I'm Stephanie from Immersive Spirit, and I am so glad you're here with me for what might be one of our most layered weeks that we've had in astrological insight conversations in a while. We've got 4 different planets in 4 different phases of turning this week, some opening up, some slowing down, some quietly renegotiating things underneath the surface. And by the time we land on Sunday, that sky is asking us to trade momentum for intention. So let's get into it. Let's start with Mercury because I know a lot of you have been feeling it. Mercury has been retrograde in Cancer, which, quick refresher if you're a little newer here, is when Mercury appears to move backward from our vantage point here on Earth. And it tends to scramble communication, technology, travel, even our own inner dialogue. Cancer is a water sign. It's ruled by emotion and home. So this retrograde has probably had you reprocessing old feelings, maybe reconnecting with family, or just feeling like nothing you said this month came out quite the way you meant it. On Thursday afternoon, Mercury finally stations direct, meaning it starts moving forward again in the sky, and you're going to feel the difference. Conversations that felt stuck start moving. That text you've been drafting and deleting and drafting and deleting, send it. There's real relief coming. Here's where it's get interesting. That same Thursday night, just a few hours after Mercury clears, we get an exact conjunction between Juno retrograde and Pluto retrograde, both sitting in Aquarius. Juno's our asteroid of committed partnership, marriage, contracts, the agreements we make with other people. Pluto, it's about power, transformation, and what's buried underneath that surface. When the two retrograde bodies meet like this, it's not loud or a fight in a group chat. It's quieter than that. It's the moment you privately admit to yourself where you handed out your power to somebody else, and whether it's a partnership or commitment, and where it's quietly outgrown its original shape. Aquarius makes this collective and future oriented as well. So don't be surprised if this shows up as clarity about a friendship, a team, a community you're a part of, not just a romantic relationship. Meanwhile, early in the week, Neptune retrograde in Aries is already doing its own quiet work. Monday morning, Jupiter trines Neptune, and by Friday, Pluto sextiles Neptune as well. Neptune retrograde tends to dissolve our certainty rather than hand us clarity. And in Aries, the sign of identity and action, that can feel like second guessing who you are or what you're supposed to be doing next. So the invitation this week is not to force an answer. It's to sit with the not knowing for a bit. Then we land on Sunday, which is really the hinge of our whole week. Saturn stations retrograde in Aries. And unlike Mercury's direct station, which opens our communications back up, Saturn turning retrograde begins a long review. And this one, like Neptune, lasts through December. Saturn's our planet of structure, discipline, and consequence. And Aries, that sign of courage and self assertion. So for the next several months, Saturn is going to be asking us to slow down and genuinely examine how we've been showing up for ourselves. Have we been acting from real courage or just impulse? Where have we built something solid and where did we skip a step? This isn't punishment, it's an invitation to build it right this time. So here's the shape of the week: early tension, a clearing midweek, a burst of Leo season warmth, and then Right when you might want to sprint, Saturn asks you to walk instead. So let's break it down by day by day. Monday, we open with some real friction. The moon in Libra wants harmony, balance, fairness. It's opposing Saturn in Aries early in the morning, around 2:15 a.m., which can translate into feeling like your desire to keep the peace is butting up against someone else's need to just push forward and do their own thing. A few hours later, that same Libra moon squares Mercury retrograde in Cancer. And squares in astrology represent that friction, some demands, and action. So if a conversation feels tense today, it's probably because old unprocessed feelings are colliding with your need for fairness right now. On the upside, Jupiter in Leo trines Neptune retrograde in Aries overnight, softening the day with a little bit of hope and imagination. And the moon also trines Mars in Gemini, giving you some quick witted energy to work with if you need to advocate for yourself. The other big story today is Jupiter opposing Pluto retrograde in Aquarius, an outer planet opposition that can bring up questions about growth versus control. Are you expanding into something bigger, or are you trying to control an outcome that just isn't ready to be controlled yet? It's a good day to notice where you're gripping just a little too tight. Our highs Monday include quick thinking, imaginative solutions, and unexpected softness. Lows include some relational tension and old feelings resurfacing at really inconvenient moments. Overall, though, the tone is tender, but a little tense. Tuesday, we hit our first quarter moon in Libra early in the morning at 5:05. If you're new to lunar phases, a first quarter moon is a check engine moment in our 2 week cycle. Since the new moon, it's whenever intention, that's you've set is asking to be tested against real world resistance. Given that it's happening in Libra, the test today is probably about your relationships and balance. Are you actually being fair yourself in a partnership, or are you just keeping the peace? And after that, the moon goes void of course for about 2.5 hours, meaning it's not making any major connections to the other major aspects and planets. It's a little pocket relief rather than any time for big decisions. Then the moon enters Scorpio mid morning and things get intense fast. It trines the North Node retrograde in Pisces, which feels like alignment with your longer term soul path. But it also opposes Chiron in Taurus, touching an old wound around self worth or safety. And later squares both Pluto retrograde and Jupiter in Leo, which can bring up power struggles or an urge to go bigger than what's actually sustainable right now. To cap off the day, Juno retrograde in Aquarius opposes Jupiter in Leo later tonight. So it's another moment where commitment and expansion are pulling in opposite directions. Highs for Tuesday are emotional honesty, depth, and breakthrough, especially an understanding of yourself. The lows include some power struggles, old wounds resurfacing, and overextension of yourself. Tuesday's tone is intense and yet revealing. Wednesday's genuinely sweet. The moon in Scorpio sextiles Venus in Virgo late morning, which is lovely, supportive, awesome for connection, and as sextiles are opportunities rather than just obligations. So if you reach out to someone today, it'll probably land well. Juno retrograde also trines Uranus in Gemini, which can bring a surprising realization about a relationship that actually feels freeing rather than destabilizing. Then at 1:13 p.m., the sun enters Leo. It's genuinely one of my favorite shifts of the year because the Leo season is warm and generous, expressive, unapologetically alive. After the intensity of Scorpio moon energy, it's like the sky exhaling in color and joy. Later in the afternoon, the moon trines Mercury retrograde in Cancer, giving you one more supportive window to finish up any lingering retrograde conversations before Mercury goes direct tomorrow. Wednesday's highs, warmth, creative spark, and easy connection. Minimal lows, actually. It's mostly settling and a hopeful day. Tone for Wednesday, it's bright and open hearted.
Hi, I'm Stephanie from Immersive Spirit. I hope you're enjoying this week's Astrological Insights podcast. If you find that these dates resonate for you, or you just love astrology, I would love to book a reading with you and just explore your own chart. Whether it's a particular location you're interested in, whether it's looking at transits that are coming for you in the future and how there's certain dates that might align better than others, or maybe it's just knowing more about that beautiful space that you were born into and exactly how the stars aligned just for you at your time of birth. I would be honored to speak with you. Head to immersivespirit.com and look for our services. You'll find several options there waiting for you, and I'll be excited to talk with you and dig into your astrological chart. Now, back to our podcast.
So Thursday's our bigger one. In the morning, that Sun in Leo squares Chiron and Taurus can bring up a tender spot around self worth versus how you're valued by others. Leo wants to shine, Taurus wants security, and today they're asking you to hold both. Then at 4:57 p.m., Mercury officially stations direct in Cancer. You might actually feel a physical sense of relief around this time, like a held breath finally releasing. The moon moves into Sagittarius this evening, bringing a burst of let's go energy, though it does square the North Node retrograde in Pisces shortly after, which can feel like your excitement getting a little ahead of your actual direction. But the real headline tonight is Juno retrograde conjunct Pluto retrograde, both in Aquarius at 7:56 p.m. It's that moment I talked about earlier where something about power and commitment gets quietly, privately clear. Juno also sextiles Neptune retrograde in Aries a bit later, which softens that realization with some compassion. And right before bed, the moon trines the sun, both feeling expansive and warm. It's a nice, hopeful close to an important day. Our highs, we have relief, mental clarity, honest self reflection, but the lows, a little tender confrontation with an old wound around self worth. Tone overall, though, is cathartic. Friday is expansive and generous. The moon in Sagittarius trines Neptune retrograde in Aries early in the morning, which can bring a dreamy, almost prophetic quality to your morning thoughts. It also sextiles Pluto retrograde, opposes Uranus and Gemini, which might bring a surprising jolt or unexpected news, and trines Jupiter in Leo all before 6 a.m. So it's a lot of movement, and the overall tone, though, is optimistic even when it's unpredictable. Later in the morning, Venus in Virgo sextiles Mercury. It's now direct in Cancer, a genuinely lovely aspect for communication and relationships. It's a great day for heartfelt, well timed convos. And late tonight, Pluto retrograde sextiles Neptune retrograde, both outer planets working together beneath the surface to blend transformation with just a little bit of grace. Our highs is that optimism, honest conversations, and really unexpected good news. The lows, a little mental restlessness, too many directions at once. The tone, however, is scattered but mostly hopeful. The moon in Sagittarius trines Saturn in Aries on Saturday, and that's just after midnight, right? Which is actually a really grounding way to start our day. Enthusiasm meeting real structure. But by morning, the moon squares Venus in Virgo, which can bring up tension between how you want to be free and spontaneous versus how you or someone else wants things done correctly. We hit our waxing gibbous moon at 6:40 a.m. This is the phase right before the full moon where things are almost ready, but not quite there yet. So if you're feeling impatient today, that's exactly what this phase of the moon should feel like. The moon then opposes Mars and Gemini, which can bring some restlessness or a minor conflict around assertiveness. You might feel pulled to act before you're really ready. After that, the moon goes void of course for nearly 23 hours, which is, unusually long. So today and into tomorrow morning, it's a great stretch. Stretch time, rest, reflect, and avoid starting anything that needs a decisive push. Highs, we have that grounded enthusiasm, honest reflection. The lows, restlessness, some minor friction around control. Overall, though, it's anticipatory. Sunday, we close our week with real significance. That moon enters Capricorn in the morning, immediately sextiling the North Node retrograde in Pisces and trining Chiron in Taurus, both gentle, supportive aspects that help ground whatever's been stirring in us all week. The Sun in Leo also opposes Juno retrograde in Aquarius late morning. One more echo of that commitment versus self expression theme we've been circling all week. But the real headline is at 1:57 when Saturn stations retrograde in Aries. It's a big one and it's going to color our sky all the way through December. Saturn turning retrograde doesn't mean things fall apart. It means we're entering a season of review. Wherever Aries touches your chart, you're going to be asked gently but firmly whether you've been building from real courage or just moving fast because it felt good. And to round out that day, the North Node retrograde shifts out of Pisces and into Aquarius at 6:46 p.m. It's a much longer term shift in our collective growth point, moving us from spiritual surrender toward community and shared vision over the next year and a half. Our highs, we have grounded clarity and some long term perspective. Lows, though, sobering awareness of what needs to be rebuilt. Reflective and quietly is ultimately our tone for that day. So if I have to sum this all up, right? And if I'm zooming out and I'm really looking at this whole week, I gotta say, um, it'd be this image. It's a door opens. Right as you're about to run through that, someone gently puts a hand on your shoulder and says, "Not so fast." Mercury clearing and the sun moving us into Leo give us that forward motion and warmth. And then Saturn's retrograde station on Sunday. It's not here to stop us, but it is here to make sure that when we do move, it's built on something real. Underneath all of that, Pluto and Juno's quiet meeting in Aquarius is doing its own private work, helping you notice exactly where you've been giving your power away. I'd love to know, where in your life is the sky asking you to trade speed for intention this week? Where's your Aries? Drop it in the comments and here, or tell me in the town square. It's free, our community, and take advantage of all of our live workshops that we're doing. Be a part of that free, the journal prompts, discounted content, discounted services. All right, Cosmic Crew, that's it for this week. It was a lot, it was fast, it was furious. And until next week, stay grounded and keep looking up.